Lovely to see you and thank you for coming along. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H today. The study relies on you listening, but please, we pray that you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Make any notes and pause if you have to. Also, write down any questions and we'll take them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during the workshop except the facilitators. Any inappropriate behaviour will not be tolerated and you will be removed by one of the co-hosts. This meeting is being recorded. The audio portion only is being recorded and only of the facilitators. The recording will be stopped at the end of the workshop before taking any questions in order to preserve your anonymity. So have a great meeting, everybody. And how we start here is with the step 3 prayer found on page 63, if you care to join me. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Over to you, Kemble. Have a great meeting.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan. And happy Sunday, everybody. Great to see everybody today. My name is Kimball. I'm a recovered alcoholic. And welcome to the Keystone Sunday International Big Book Workshop. So today we want to start in chapter 2 today. It starts on page 17, when there is a solution. We finished Bill's story last week after probably about 3 parts, I believe it was. So in Bill's story, we've seen the problem, we've seen the solution, and we've seen the course of action that's required for alcoholics of our type to successfully recover from alcoholism. Quick note, we recover from alcoholism, though we are not cured, but what we do have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activity. Step 11 gives us a 24-hour day clock. This program of Alcoholics Anonymous, it gives this book, and going through this program, it gives us the way to how to get sober, to stay sober, and to live a whole different type of life. So now a little bit about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a great thing, right? So I was ordered to go to this Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous way back in 1983, right? Somebody seen I had a drinking problem. I was a soldier in the military. Shoot, that's what we do. We drink. And then we drank more and we drank more. Hey, shoot, I didn't know what. When I first got sent to Alcoholics Anonymous, I said, what these people gonna do? Are they gonna help me supply my liquor cabinet when it run low? That was my idea of Alcoholics Anonymous in the beginning. Shoot, I went to that meeting and I came back and told my commander I ain't never going back to that stuff. They didn't give me nothing to drink while I was there, so they wasted an hour of my time. That was the idea that was in my mind. I never thought I had a drinking problem. I just thought I had a high tolerance for it. I said, I can just outdrink this person, I can outdrink that person. But fellowship is never enough. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that today, right? So in the fellowship of AA, you see different people from different races and denominations, different faiths. It can be a great thing, right? But fellowship is not enough. It's not like it was in the beginning. We hear people saying, in the meetings for years, I heard, go to 90 and 90, do 90 and 90, and you'll be okay. Okay, I tried that, right? I never could even make it to the 90. So, but in the beginning, they didn't have 90 meetings to go to in 90 days. They make a meet once a week in somebody's house somewhere. So where did the idea of this 90 and 90 come from? Well, it didn't come from this program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Program Alcoholics Anonymous is found in the first portion of this book. So I stayed drunk from 83 in and out of the fellowship until 2002. February 3rd, 2020 is my sobriety date. I just celebrated a birthday yesterday, thanks to this program of Alcoholics Anonymous and not just the fellowship alone. So it's a good thing to be around people who have recovered from the same problem that we suffer from. See, we alcoholics, we suffer from an allergy of the body. We suffer from a mind problem. See, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in his mind rather than in his body. But just being in the fellowship, that alone, it would never have held us together the same way that we are joined together today. So this is very important when we go through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. So, but the problems is, this book, when this book was written, there was only a few small groups that people could even fellowship at all. The big book was written. You had a group in New York, a small number in Cleveland, and then the spark that set the flame was done in Akron, Ohio. Then you had a few groups that scattered around here and there. So once again, that's why we couldn't go to 90 and 90 back then. So these alcoholics, they had to work the program directly out of the book once it was published. But before the book was published, we want to talk about the fellowship just a little bit. Ebby Thatcher came to see Bill Wilson at his apartment, and he brought what he had learned from the Oxford group, presented his conceptions to Bill Wilson, and then Bill, in turn, after he recovered from alcoholism, because he didn't recover that day, he drank for another month after Ebby came to see him. But one alcoholic working with another alcoholic, that's vital importance. Fellowship, you hear this stuff in these fellowships. People used to tell me, well, Kim, if you don't drink, you can't get drunk. Just don't pick it up. And then, you won't have a problem. Well, the problem is I had an alcoholic mind, so that's a problem. Self was my problem, self-centeredness. I was always combating a scheme and a plan. Well, I can do better the next time I drink. I won't act as stupid as I acted. I won't drink as much. But then we all know when we take that first drink, if you're an alcoholic of our type, the real alcoholic, the phenomenon of craving kicks in. We cannot shut it off. So today we have a much larger fellowship in AA. See, we got Zoom meetings where we at now, and I'm grateful for this Zoom meeting. See, I recovered from alcoholism during the pandemic where I could not recover from alcoholism in the room because nobody 12-stepped me through this thing. When I was 12-step, but I remember this Keystone group, I recovered from alcoholism by taking the steps. Following my sponsor 12-stepped me through this thing, and it changed my life. It changed my whole perception on life. So we just can't live off the fellowship alone. And we can't get sober and stay sober just with the fellowship. I tried it for 30 plus years and it did not work. Sometimes I go a year or two without even putting my foot in a meeting. Sometimes I go to 21 meetings in 5 days, being in treatment centers. From 91 to 2000 to 2019, I was in and out of treatment centers, in and out of rehab, and all this crap that I was hearing from these people. Halt. Don't get too hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I was hearing all this stuff, but it didn't give me the solution for my alcoholic problem. So, but then, the solution for an alcoholic of my type, the big book talks about this vital spiritual experience, and it comes from taking the steps outlined in the big book. We already got a recipe for this thing already started in Bill's story. So, we suffer from an illness. And American Medical Society deemed it as a disease back in 1953 or 54, I do believe. So when it comes to alcoholism, without the program of alcoholism, we cannot stay sober. We can't get sober. We may stay sober for a week, month, year, or whatever. But then if we still suffering from what we call alcoholism, the problem in the mind, we're going to drink again. That's the promise of step one. Means relapse. If we powerless over something, or such as alcohol, see, alcohol is above all our pay grade. If we powerless over alcohol, that solution, we will use it again. I had this experience. But the solution, we got to take some steps. So here on page 17, Brother Dan, if you will, matter of fact, read the totality of page 17, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, cool. From the start, chapter 2, everybody. Page 17, there is a solution. We of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as Bill. Nearly all have recovered. They have solved the drinking problem. We are average Americans. All sections of this country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds. We are people who normally would not mix, but there exists among us fellowship, a friendliness, and an understanding which indescribably wonderful. We are like the passengers of a great liner the moment after rescue from shipwreck, when camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Unlike the feeling of the ship's passengers, however, Our joy in escape from disaster does not subside as we go in our individual ways. The feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us, but that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan. In the first paragraph, here is a promise, right? It says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as Bill. Nearly all have recovered. They have solved a drink problem. The promise is thousands of people have solved their problem by taking the 12 steps and applying them in our lives. It worked for me, and I know it can work for anybody. I ain't never seen alcohol as bad as me, but I know there's plenty out there in the world. But we can have our problem solved by taking the 12 steps. The book promises that. And we take corrective measures, follow a few simple directions, we have the same results. A lot of people like to argue. We never recover from alcoholism, but this is the first promise and the first hope in this big book, this program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because on the very title page, it tells us this the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. So I don't argue with people today. If they still recovering, then the only thing advice I can give them, well, maybe you need to reevaluate your steps, because I'm recovered from alcoholism. No, I ain't cured of it, but I'm recovered from it. Means I have a defense against it today, right? My defense did not work, so it took a power greater than myself, who I call God, to solve my alcohol problem, and it keeps me sober. Living in step 11, it works wonders for an alcoholic of my type, because it covers all 24 hours a day. When we take the steps and we learn how to apply step 11 in our lives, and it works. It really does. Page 88, the shortest paragraph in the book, says it works. It really does. And it does. So 12 steps can work for anybody with any problem we have in life. That's what it does. It enables us to find a power greater than ourselves that will solve our problem. It didn't say it might solve your problem, or it's a 20/80 possibility, but it says it will solve your problem. And it worked. Next paragraph, the middle paragraph, it says, we are people who normally would not mix, but there exists among us a fellowship of friendliness and an understanding which is indescribably wonderful. The fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is like no other. We have a way out today, peeps. I was just as hopeless as Bill, too. Shoot, I didn't know what to do but take another drink. Every problem I had, I thought alcohol was going to solve it. And only made it worse until it beat my butt down, to beat some sense into my brain after drinking for 42 years, right? Program works, it really does. Now, next paragraph it talks about the feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us. But that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism. There is a way out. The first 100 men and women that put this program together, they found a way out, right? They got it all on paper. 100 of them agreed to it, and they put it down in a book. So we can follow the path that they follow. We can have results. We can recover from alcoholism. So the 12 steps are the common solution that we all share today. Yeah, we can't recover from it if we're a real alcoholic. We can't recover from alcoholism without the steps, right? But let me make this clear. Alcoholics Anonymous is not the only way in the world for a real alcoholic to get sober. But you know what? It's the best way that I found. See, my religion didn't solve my drinking problem. No, it took being process through these steps here. And that way I was able to find a connection with God. See, I didn't have a connection with God, even though I used to be up there preaching and carrying good news. But my drinking kept continuing and never stopped. So I suffered from what we call lack of power. It talks about that lack of power on page 45. So back thinking about, this is still part of step one. We still got a long way to go in the step one right here. So, step one experience is what we all have suffered from. So the problem is a great bond that we have, right? We all got this problem if we determine we real alcoholics. But the even better bond is the solution that we all share. We share in the same solution. So this big book carries the great message of the solution. And it is later on revealed in the book, which we'll find out about, that the common solution to alcoholism is a vital spiritual experience. It even talks about this back in the doctor's opinion. So, in this part of the book, especially during Bill stories, we learn that we are powerless over alcohol. So, in this book, Bill going to write us out a prescription, right? The prescription is power. No, that is it. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. And Bill tells us the power of the fellowship and the power of the common solution will overcome any person's powerlessness over alcoholism. So anyone can get sober, right? The real questions are a couple of questions. How do you stay sober? How do you change? How do you learn to live in such a manner that you are able to stay sober in the future? We hear people talking about one day at a time and all that good stuff. That's all real good and dandy. But if we hadn't took the steps, in my opinion, we just be like between drinks, so to say. We may get to where we become restless here and then discontented, right? And we know that's going to cause some problems with us. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. Since I was 12 steps through this program, I ain't had a restless, irritable, and discontented day yet. I don't see it. I hadn't seen it. And that's a gift of God, right? Because it's not on my own. Because I couldn't stop myself from drinking if you'd have threatened me with a firing squad. 12 rifles in front of me and said, Kim, if you can take a drink and die, or you can stay sober so we won't blow your brains out. I'd have took that drink and died. That's how powerless I was over alcoholism. I couldn't deal with alcoholism. Alcoholism was something that was way out of my reach, out of my boundaries. Only God could solve a problem for a real alcoholic of my type. So here on top of page 18, we're going to roll over to page 18 and discuss a little bit. And it goes on to read, an illness of this sort, and we have come to believe it an illness. It involves those about us in a way no other human sickness can. If a person has cancer, all are sorry for him, and no one is angry or hurt. But not so with the alcoholic illness. For with it, there goes annihilation of all things worthwhile in life. It engulfs all whose lives touch the sufferers. It brings misunderstanding, fierce resentment, financial insecurity, disgusted friends and employers, warped lives of blameless children, sad wives and parents. Anyone can increase the list. An illness of this sort. Yes, like I say, alcoholism is a disease. It's classified as a disease by the American Medical Society. The book describes it as an illness of this sort. And it goes on to relate. If a person has cancer, right, we all feel sorry for them. And, we pray for them and we do the best we can to maybe help them have some comfort and relief. But not so with the alcoholic illness. People think we are outright mental defects. And without having an understanding of what alcoholism is, nobody knows. If they don't know, then they're going to treat us like crap. And because we touching the lives of everybody around us. We hurting people. We acting in ways that we would never act, when we're not under the influence. But it goes on to bring about, it engulfs all whose lives touch the sufferers. It brings misunderstanding. Yeah, a lot of misunderstandings. I can relate to that. The only understanding I had was take me another drink. That's when the misunderstanding come out. I start blaming other people for me taking the first drink. Then I start blaming other people for me keep on drinking. Not realizing I was suffering from a darn illness. Fierce resentment. Well, we know if you do the program, Resentment is the #1 offender. It warps the lives of alcoholics. It destroys us alcoholics to be resentful. In my drinking career, when I grew resentment, I drank and I'm coming back and try to make you pay for it. You're going to have to answer to me. That's just the mentality I had. And it caused a lot of conflict with self. It caused conflict with God, first of all. And it caused conflict with everybody that crossed my path. Disgusted friends and employers. How many times I was supposed to be at work on Friday night? I was the head cook for 28 years, and I didn't show up because I'm too drunk and they couldn't find me because I would go hide out and be gone. You know, so they had to get 2 people or 3 people sometimes to replace me, and I'm one person. I was a working alcoholic. I wouldn't say I was a functioning alcoholic because I was dysfunctional, very dysfunctional person. But this stuff touches everybody in our lives. And the problem is, we can't see it when we're doing it. I never could see it. I never thought I had a problem drinking. No, I was not the problem. You was the problem. The job was the problem. Somebody I worked with was the problem. Everybody was the problem except me. But the truth is, shoot, I was the problem. Problem was me, not you. But I use them excuses, right? Still, us alcoholics, we make up all these darn excuses. Excuse after excuse after excuse. So, wow. And it brings around all kind of good, crazy stuff. So, next paragraph here on page 18. It says, we hope this volume will inform and comfort those who are or who may be affected. There are many. Yes, you know, in the big book, we got to the wise, we got the family afterward, we got 2 employers. And Bill incorporated this in the book for a reason. Because we affect these people just as bad as anything in the world. So thank God for this volume. And it talks about this back in the preface, I think on page XIV. If you will, go back to page XIV. I'd like to share something here dealing with this volume. Let me find my page here. Y'all give me just a minute. But anyway, this book has really saved my life, and it'll work for all of us. So if anybody's struggling with alcoholism today, please reach out if we can't immediately get to you right away. It says, okay, here's one thing I'd like to share. It says, this is on page XII. I want to go here first. And it says, all changes made over the years in the big book. AA members' fun nickname for this volume have had the same purpose: to represent the current membership of Alcoholics Anonymous more accurately and to thereby reach more alcoholics. If you have a drinking problem, we hope that you may pause in reading one of the 42 personal stories and think, yes, that has happened to me. Or more important, yes, I felt like that. Or more important, yes, I believe this program can work for me too. Yes, thank God. This program does work. It'll work for all of us. So back to page XXIV, where I want to share about this volume. I want to go there. XXIV, bottom paragraph, where it goes on to read, taking advantage of technological advances. For example, AA members with computers can participate in meetings online, sharing with fellow alcoholics across the country or around the world. In any meeting, anywhere, AA share experience, strength, and hope with each other in order to stay sober and help other alcoholics. Modem to modem, or face to face, AA speaks the language of the heart in all its power and simplicity. The message is simple. But you know, we alcoholics, we can be complicated. I know I was a very complicated alcoholic. I didn't want to hear no suggestions in these meetings because they didn't work for me. But the program, suggestions from the program became a must for me. And it commenced, I was able to recover from alcoholism. On the forward to the first here on page XXII, bottom paragraph. And it reads, each day somewhere in the world, recovery begins when one alcoholic talks with another alcoholic, sharing experience, strength, and hope. Oh man, amen. Now back to page 18. I'm going to go down to where's down in italics here on page 18. And it's going to read, but the ex-pollen drinker who has found this solution, who is properly armed with facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours. Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. Now it talks about the ex-problem drinker, Bill Wilson, who went to Dr. Bob, our other co-founder. Bob didn't want to talk to Bill at first, right? Shoot, no, Bob was a big old time surgeon. He didn't want people knowing about his alcoholism. And he said he'll give Bill 15 minutes. But look, hours later, he learned the grave nature of alcoholism from Bill Wilson, which Bill Wilson learned it from Dr. Silkworth up at Town Hospital. So until we can get an understanding of what the problem is, then we can come up with a solution. But without this understanding, we cannot commence to engage in a solution for this thing. And I appreciate what Bill did. See, Bill could have gave up. If Bill would have got this one, if his one business deal would have went through, he probably would have, if he'd got hired at that one job, he'd have been out drinking, and we probably never would have had the likes of AA that we have today. It's got to be sent from God. Something has to be sent from God. So I'm gonna stop right there for just a second, because here on page 18, when we're talking about this illness, I'm gonna share this part. I hear a lot of people over the years in meetings say, "I'm craving for alcohol. I'm craving for this. I'm craving for that." But when it comes to this alcoholic illness, there is no way I can trigger the allergy that produces the phenomenon of craving and end up drunk if I don't take the first drink. That makes a lot of sense, right? We alcoholics have to drink to produce the phenomenon of craving. When we develop this phenomenon of craving, this sets us apart. It means when we take a drink, we can't stop and we can't shut it off because it's beyond our mental capacity to shut off a phenomenon of craving. Lord knows I tried so many times and so many years and it didn't work. The drink would overrule my mind. Therefore, the main problem of the alcoholic is centered in the mind rather than in his body. Important fact, the fact that I am allergic to alcohol. That's important for an alcoholic like me to understand, since the problem centers up here in my mind rather than in the body. So all our actions, all of what I do each day, it is born with a thought. Thought comes from the mind. So there's no way I can take a drink unless my mind say, okay, it's okay for you to take a drink. And then you take that drink and it's too late. Boom, the phenomenon of craving kicks in. Next thing you know, we flat on our back again. In the hospital. I spent so many times in hospitals and psych wards because I did not realize the problem centered in the mind. So it tell me on good days, they say, take a drink. Shoot, you'll feel even better. On bad days, sick, not feeling good, might have the flu or pneumonia, anything. Take a drink. It'll solve your illness that you have today. My mind would tell me that. So I take a drink. Nose could be running, everything. I'm trying to pour alcohol down my throat, nose running down on top of the bottle, right? I got to clean the bottle off. Try to drink some more. That didn't fix my cold. No. Share important point. The big book talks about this obsession, right? Page 23. I think it's page 23. Let me flip over there, page 23. Now, matter of fact, page 30. I want to go page 30 first. There it is, I do believe. Yeah, page 30 is where I want to go, Pete, right now. It goes on to say, there is the obsession. Everybody with me there? There is the obsession that somehow, someday, we will beat the game. Now, here's this word obsession entering into the picture, right? The great obsession of every alcoholic is to drink like normal people, right? That's my great obsession. That's what the book talks about when it uses the word obsession. Obsession is not a symptom of alcoholism. Some people have said it is. It's this threefold and fourfold of illness. I done heard all that crap on the meetings I was going to for years. I'd hear all this stuff. Well, the spiritual malady is why you're alcoholic. No, it's not. It's a human condition. This obsession is something in our mind. It's not a symptom of being a real alcoholic. So, Who's we obsessed with? Basically obsessed with, I was obsessed with myself. Shoot, I can beat the game. That's an obsession. I can drink and still beat the game. But you know, this is the great lie that we believe that somehow, someday we're gonna be able to beat the game. That is a flat lie. We actually believe a lie based on another lie. Believing, oh, I got this thing, I can beat this thing. No, that's a lie we tell ourselves. We take that drink, we trigger that allergy, the phenomenon of craving kicks in, it's too late. Then we can't stop. So once again, where the problem starts at, it centers in the mind rather than in the body. And this is a fact, this is a truth that we have to put home, make the person that we are trying to help understand. Because if we don't take that first drink, there is no way we can develop a phenomenon of craving. But here on page 43, right, last paragraph, it'll tell us something else very important. Because it goes on to say, once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against that first drink, except in a few rare cases. His defense, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power, no doubt. If I'm powerless over something, I'm not that higher power that can stop myself from drinking, right? No, I need a power greater than me. The power I choose to call today is God. That's the power that solved my alcoholic problem. He keeps me sober. It's because of him that I stay sober, not of my own will. My will is what kept me drunk and kept me drinking for 42 years. I was so self-centered and self-willed. Oh yeah, I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna beat this thing. Truth is, a sick mind can't fix a sick mind, right? That's my experience. I tried. I look in the mirror during my drinking career and say, shoot, man, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Yeah, then I had to check myself in the mental ward because I thought I was literally crazy. But not realizing the alcoholism that was doing that to me. Yes, my mind couldn't fix my own mind. It took something outside of me. And that's what solved my problem. Okay, back to page 18, bottom paragraph. Yeah, that the man who is making the approaches had the same difficulty, that he obviously knows what he is talking about, and that his whole deportment shouts at the new prospect that he is a man with a real answer. Wow. This person is sometimes called a sponsor, right? This person has nothing but a sincere desire to help you. We don't profess to be no holier than you, no better than you, but we have been through the same thing. Now we want to help you get through it. We want to help you get over alcoholism. We want to help you to recover from alcoholism. That he has no attitude holier than thou, nothing whatever, except the sincere desire to be helpful. That there are no dues, no fees to pay, no axes to grind, no people to please, no lectures to be endured. These are the conditions, flip my page. These are the conditions we have found most effective. After such approaches made, many take up their beds and walk again. So that's what it took for an alcoholic like me. You say over 3 decades in and out of this watered down fellowship, not in the message from this book, I kept on drinking. In and out of rooms, dying from alcoholism. But I did not know what the problem was. I did not know what the solution was. I did not know what the course of action was. I was just a lost drunk, going to meetings, leaving the meeting, getting drunk. Sometimes drinking, going to the meeting, but I sit way in the back, hoping nobody would smell it. Even when I was in treatment center, I would sneak over there to the liquor stores. There was one right there by the last treatment center I was in 2019. I could walk about 100 yards from the building. The house they had me standing there was an ABC store, a liquor store. I go over there during the day when everybody be out at the VA hospital working, and I'm drunk by the time they get off, and I disappear to the next day. I wasn't getting a solution. They were just giving me this old crap. Just don't drink today. Do these 90 and 90. And they was taking me to meetings every night, every day, 2 or 3 a day. I still was drinking. They didn't give me a solution. But you know what? The 12 steps, when somebody 12-step me through this thing, that's where the solution is found out. So grateful for this chapter, there is a solution. Go back to page 19. None of us makes a sole vocation of this work, nor we do think its effectiveness would be increased if we did. We feel that elimination of our drinking is but a beginning. A much more important demonstration of our principles lies before us in our respective homes, occupations, and affairs. All of us spend much of our spare time in the sort of effort which we are going to describe. A few are fortunate enough to be so situated that they can give nearly all their time to the work. Okay, it goes on to say elimination of our drinking is but a beginning. Stopping drinking is only the beginning. It is more important that we practice the principles of the 12 steps of AA in every part of our lives. Because the 12 steps of AA has produced a lot of other 12-step programs dealing with all areas in life, in our lives, and it works. If we got, say, a gambling addiction or any other kind of addiction, gambling addiction, drug addiction, whatever it may be, the 12 steps can simply solve all our problems. It sure did it for me. Thing about this here today, when I'm being 12 step through this thing, it was important for me to take notes, make highlights, find out more about what we are studying on. I got big book dictionaries. I read the definitions. I looked up these words to get the meaning of them, the original meaning of these words, and then started trying to apply this in my life as I was being 12 step. And it gave me a better understanding of what my problem was, what the solution is, what's the course of action that I need to take. And very grateful for it. Now, they were not back then, only very few people that was getting the actual program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Some of them, it says, a few are fortunate enough to be so situated they can give nearly all their time to the work. See, back then, there wasn't a lot of people that could give all their time to the work. Because back then, men were the primary breadwinners of the house, and they were the ones that were normally the alcoholics. So they would spend their days at work. A lot of them would be traveling people, truck drivers, or whatever it may be. So they didn't have a lot of time to try to 12-step nobody else. But then practicing these principles, as it talks about, a demonstration of our principles lies before us in our respective homes, occupations, and affairs. The big book tells us to practice these principles in all our affairs, right? Now, spiritual principles that we learn, a spiritual set of tools laid out in this big book. And we start in our homes. That's where practicing these principles start off at. They start in our home. If we have jobs, we practice these principles on our job and all other fairs that we may go to. I can share some of this here with you. Like before I learned the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, before I recovered, when I go out in public, I go to Walmart or somewhere. If I thought somebody was looking at me wrong, I'd turn around and cuss them out, and I'd try to run them out the store. This is how insane I was. Today, I can go in Walmart. I can just smile and talk to everybody. I'll give them a good greeting, talk to God about them, and go on about my business. The difference between night and day, the way I was and the way I am today. All because of practicing these principles, they gradually become a working part of the mind. You always remember the problem with the alcoholic is centers in the mind rather than in the body. The mind is, I used to hear say years ago, they said the mind is a terrible thing to waste. It is. I wasted my doggone mind for 40-something years, baffled by alcoholism, and then you know what the problem was. That's pretty sad. But thank God, it ain't sad today no more behind it. Anyway, back to page 19. If we keep on the way we are going, there's little doubt that much good will result, but the surface of the problem would hardly be scratched. Those of us who live in large cities are overcome by the reflection that close by hundreds are dropping into oblivion every day. Many could recover if they had the opportunity we have enjoyed. How then shall we present that which has been so freely given us? Okay, I'll stop right there for a moment. It talks about those of us who live in large cities, right? Even if we live in a large city or a small city. See, I left the big city and I moved back home to my hometown 3 years ago, which is a very small town. Lots of suffering alcoholics around here, and I'm trying to help as many as I can. So there are people near us that have the same problem that we have. Same, and the same solution is there, but we weed them out, and then they have to determine whether they want some help or not. So we offer them an opportunity to recover. We can present the opportunity to them. Of course, it's up to them to accept, what this program has to offer. So we can't dwell too long on any one person because we might be, not allowing somebody else that may want help, in order to help them. So we try to be flexible. Love and tolerance is our code. Simply, we try to reach as many as we can who may want the same solution that we have. So we have concluded to publish an anonymous volume setting forth the problem as we see it. Yes, the first 100 men and women, they produced this volume, and it gave us the problem because I didn't know I was an alcoholic for a great many years. I used to go in say in the meetings because everybody else was saying, well, I'm such and such, I'm an alcoholic. I say the same thing too. But then after the meeting, I'm gonna go prove I'm an alcoholic. I'm gonna go get me a drink. But that ain't what made me alcoholic. That darn phenomenon of craving and allergy in my body is what made me alcoholic. And of course, it warped my mind. So that then the problem started evaporating in the mind, started popping up in the mind. Well, it's okay for me to drink now. No. And we all know how it turned out. It talks about oblivion. Close by, hundreds are dropping into oblivion every day. I see it today. Every day I see it right here in my hometown. I spend a lot of time trying to help these people, but I can just present the message, the problem, the solution, the course of action, and I'll be glad and cheerfully and glad to take whoever I can through it. That's the beautiful part about step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. We try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Bottom paragraph here on page 19. Of necessity, there will have to be a discussion of matters medical, psychiatric, social, and religious. So it's a necessary thing here to look at our physical situation, or how our bodies are, how we react to alcohol. Well, we need to have a discussion on things mentally. Myself personally, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, a whole lot of other things. That's my mental state. I'm a combat veteran, so I suffer from chronic PTSD. I tried to drink it away for the last 30 years until I recovered from alcoholism, because I developed this back in 1990 in the war zone. I thought alcohol fixed my PTSD, but it didn't, because it ain't fixed today. But I got a way out. I have a power greater than me today I can rely on. Instead of relying on that whiskey bottle and make me drink again and upset them PTSD symptoms, then I'm going crazy. So we need to look at the mental part. And somebody may have a mental problem. They may can't understand, they may can't comprehend. We never know. So we take time, we work with them. And then we talk about the spiritual situation. That's about a person's leanings, how they feel about spiritual things. It's not necessarily religious things, right? Because everybody don't believe in God, right? We got atheists in AA, we got agnostics, we got true believers. I just happen to be a true believer, so I'm not going to push the issue. I'll let that person explain to me how they feel, what they feel, and then we'll see how we can be helpful for them as we present this program. Because the Big Book has a chapter here dealing with we agnostics, and that's a very important chapter. That chapter really did a lot in my spiritual walk. But once again, my religion didn't solve my alcohol problem, but the 12 steps of AA did, because it led me into a deep and personal relationship with God. See, I thought I was God. I played God, right? And that's why I kept drunk. I kept staying drunk because I'm playing God. And I found out I ain't God. Whole new game. This program, I accepted this program, did what the book suggested. My sponsor took me through this thing, and that's where the solution was found at. Thank God. So we talk to these people about these things. Now, the paragraph brings out, we are aware that these matters are from their very nature controversial. Yes, it can be. No doubt. But it's a personal thing. Thank you, Sister Lee. It's good to see you, girl. I don't push my religious beliefs on nobody. No, that's not my job. The Alcoholics Anonymous is spiritual. Now I'm gonna put spiritual beliefs on you, but see, my religious beliefs I push on another group. That's at the church, but this is not church. This is a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. But spiritual principles come from a greater book than my Alcoholics Anonymous book, right? But we help incorporate these things. Because the book says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path, right? The path that they're talking about here on page 58 is the spiritual set of tools that's laid at our feet as we go through this thing. Bill Wilson gives us a recipe. It's a spiritual recipe that he takes us through this course of action. And that's where we get this vital spiritual experience as we take through these steps, as we go through these steps, and it commences to solve our alcoholic problem. I'm so grateful for this program. And I'm grateful for the people that's been on this journey with me. I'm grateful for people here today with me now. I'm grateful for all of y'all. Some of you I know better than others because I've been around some of you a little bit longer, but it's always a blessing. It's a gift from God. There are other people that's been through what I've been through, and for God allowing me to be able to share the experience, and I'm still alive today to be able to help somebody else through it. No doubt. I'm going to go to page 20, and then we're going to get ready to shut it down. Okay. Matter of fact, back to the bottom of page 19. And where it says, nothing would please us so much as to write a book which will contain no basis for contention or argument. I'm going to stop right there for a minute. There should be no argument about what this big book presents to us, right? We couldn't solve our own drinking problem. This book got a solution, so why should we argue what the book say? You know, and I see that quite a bit on the recovered alcoholics group we got. People want to argue what the book said. Come on now, be for real. Your watered down message is what kept me drunk for 3 decades. The message from this book has kept me sober for the last 4 years and still kicking. Thank God. So it says we can do our utmost to achieve that ideal. Most of us sense that real tolerance of other people's shortcomings and viewpoints and a respect for their opinions or attitudes, which make us more useful to others. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs. Step 12, our constant thought of how we can help others and help them meet their needs. That is it, peeps. Step 12. Wow. So we carried this message. And I'm going to stop right there. So next week, we finna get into the deep part of this book. It's talking about the next 3 pages. Starting at the bottom of page 20, we start talking about certain type of drinkers. We got the moderate drinker here. We got the heavy drinker. Then on 21, we're going to talk about the alcohol.